She was caged at home. Billionaire claimed her forever. She hadn't seen the sky in 5 years. One stormy night, a stranger knocked, and taught her the difference between being saved and being loved. Welcome to Emotional Voyage. I'm so glad you're here to share this journey with me. If this content resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps me create even deeper, more meaningful videos for our community. Let's navigate these emotions together. The crack in the window had been Celeste's only companion for 1,825 days. She knew because she'd counted every single one. 5 years. 60 months. 1,825 sunrises she'd watched through that hairline fracture in the glass, each one a reminder that the world kept turning while she stood still. Her room was 10 feet by 12 feet. Beige walls stained with water damage and time. A twin mattress on a rusted frame. A wooden chair. A bucket she had to empty herself when he remembered to unlock the door. The window had been nailed shut so long ago the wood had swollen into permanence. Vincent had done that the week after her mother's funeral. For your safety, he'd said. The world out there is dangerous for a girl like you. She'd been 18. Technically an adult. Technically free to leave. Except she wasn't. Because Vincent Harding, her stepfather, her mother's husband of barely 2 years, had made sure she understood what would happen if she tried. No one will believe you. You're an adult staying here of your own free will. Try to leave and I'll make sure you regret it. And when Mrs. Chen from next door had heard her crying one night and knocked to ask if she was okay, Mrs. Chen's house was empty within a week. Celeste learned quickly, the cost of hope was always higher than the price of silence. So she stopped hoping. She survived. 1 meal a day, sometimes 2 if he was in a good mood. A shower twice a week, always supervised by the bathroom door he'd removed from its hinges. Books he'd long since taken away because she didn't need distractions. The television he controlled from outside her room, choosing what she watched, when she watched, if she watched. She was 23 years old. And she'd forgotten what rain felt like on skin. Celeste sat on the edge of her mattress, knees pulled to her chest, and listened. Vincent's footsteps in the hallway. Heavy. Uneven. He'd been drinking. The lock clicked. She made herself smaller. The door opened, and he stood there, 52 years old, thick around the middle, gray beard stained yellow from cigarettes. He looked at her the way someone looks at furniture. Present but irrelevant. Eat, he said, setting a tray just inside the threshold. Sandwich. Apple. Water. The same as always. Doctor's appointment tomorrow, he added. County's been calling. Don't make me regret taking you. Her heart lurched, half hope, half terror. A doctor meant leaving this room. But it also meant Vincent in the car beside her, his warnings fresh. Say one wrong word and you'll wish you'd kept quiet. She'd had 3 appointments in 5 years. Each time, she'd stayed silent. What could she say? I'm being held prisoner by my stepfather, but I'm legally an adult and there are no visible bruises, so please believe me anyway? The doctors never looked close enough to see the truth. Okay, she whispered. He grunted and left. The lock clicked. Celeste waited until his footsteps faded, until she heard the familiar groan of his recliner and the crack of a beer can. Only then did she eat. The sandwich was dry. The apple bruised. The water warm. She finished every bite. Survival wasn't about taste. When she was done, she returned the tray to the floor and crossed to the window. Outside, the sky was darkening. Heavy clouds rolled in from the west. A storm coming. She pressed her forehead to the glass and closed her eyes. One more day, she told herself. Just one more day. Across the city, Dominic Ashford stood at the window of his corner office and felt nothing. 34 floors below, the city glittered. His city, or at least the parts of it his company had built. Ashford Development had transformed the skyline over the past decade, glass and steel monuments to his ambition. But tonight, it all looked hollow. He held a glass of whiskey, ice long melted, and studied his reflection in the window. Dark eyes. Sharp jaw. The face magazines called devastatingly handsome, and competitors called ruthless. He felt neither. He felt empty. Mr. Ashford. He turned. Iris Chen, his assistant of 6 years, stood in the doorway with her tablet and an expression that said she was about to tell him something he didn't want to hear. The Singapore deal closed, she said. Good. That's 15 acquisitions this year. The board is thrilled. I'm sure they are. She studied him with the frank assessment of someone who'd known him long enough to call him on his bullshit. You look exhausted. I'm fine. You're not fine. You've been here 14 hours, and you haven't eaten. I'm not hungry. Dominic. Her voice softened. When's the last time you went home before midnight? He couldn't remember. Home was a penthouse that echoed. Furniture chosen by an interior designer. Art he'd never picked. Everything expensive and tasteful and utterly devoid of warmth. It had been different once. When Lily was alive, she'd fill his space with her chaos. Art supplies everywhere, music playing, laughter bouncing off the walls. But Lily had been dead for 10 years. And the silence had never left. Go home, Iris said gently. Sleep. The Empire will survive one night without you. He wanted to argue. Instead, he nodded. Fine. She looked surprised but pleased. I'll see you Monday. When she left, Dominic grabbed his jacket and headed for the elevator. But he didn't go home. He got in his car and drove. No destination. No plan. Just movement, because standing still meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering. Remembering Lily at 19, bright and beautiful and so trusting. Remembering the boyfriend who'd isolated her, controlled her, destroyed her piece by piece. Remembering the phone call at 3 a.m. I need help. I can't do this anymore. Please come get me. Remembering the 2-hour drive, his heart in his throat. Remembering the police breaking down the door because she wouldn't answer. Remembering the EMTs shaking their heads. I'm sorry. She's gone. Overdose. Intentional. A note that said, I don't know how to escape. This is easier. He'd been 2 hours too late. And he'd spent every day since trying to outrun that failure. The storm hit suddenly. One moment, overcast skies. The next, sheets of rain hammering his windshield. Dominic cursed and took the next exit, looking for somewhere to wait it out. He ended up in a neighborhood he didn't recognize. Old houses. Chain-link fences. Streets that hadn't seen city maintenance in years. His engine sputtered. No, he muttered. Not now. The car rolled to a stop. He tried the ignition. Nothing. He checked his phone. No signal. Rain pounded the roof like fists. He looked around. The street was dark except for one house, a single dim light in a window. He grabbed his coat, pulled it over his head, and ran. Celeste heard the knock and froze. Vincent never knocked. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The knock came again. Urgent. Desperate. Hello. A man's voice, muffled by the door and the rain. I'm sorry to bother you, my car broke down. Is anyone home? She crept to the door, pressing her ear against it. Vincent had left an hour ago. The bar. He wouldn't be back until after midnight. But what if this was a test? What if? Please, the voice said. I just need to call for help. Something in his tone, exhaustion, maybe, or genuine need, made her hesitate. Her hand trembled as she reached for the lock. She could open it. Vincent had never explicitly forbidden it. He'd just made sure she understood the consequences of being seen. But he wasn't here. And this man needed help. And maybe, just maybe. She unlocked the door. And opened it. Just a crack. The woman who answered was the most beautiful thing Dominic had ever seen. Not beautiful in the conventional sense. She was too thin, too pale, with dark circles under eyes that looked too large for her face. But there was something in those eyes. Something alive. Something fighting. She wore an oversized gray sweater that hung off one shoulder. Her feet were bare. Her dark hair tangled and unwashed but somehow still soft-looking, like it remembered being cared for once. She stared up at him through the narrow gap in the door, and he forgot every word he'd planned to say. He cleared his throat. I'm sorry. My car died. Do you have a phone I could use? She searched his face like she was looking for something. Like she was deciding whether he was safe. There's no phone here, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. He frowned. At all. She shook her head. He glanced past her into the dim interior. Peeling wallpaper. Stained floors. The smell of stale air and something else, neglect. Do you live here? He asked gently. A pause. Yes. Alone. Her eyes flickered. My stepfather. But he's not here. The way she said it, careful, controlled, set off every alarm bell in Dominic's head. After Lily, he'd volunteered at domestic violence shelters. Sat through training. Learned the signs. And this woman was covered in them. Are you okay? He asked quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't answer. Can I come in? He asked. Just until the storm passes. I promise I won't hurt you. She looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she stepped back. And opened the door. Have you ever opened a door knowing everything might change? Drop a comment. What would you do in Celeste's position? The inside of the house confirmed Dominic's worst suspicions. Water-stained ceiling. Furniture that looked salvaged. Empty beer cans stacked on every surface. An ashtray overflowing with cigarette butts. And at the end of the hallway, a door with a lock on the outside. His stomach dropped. The woman closed the front door and stood with her back against it, arms wrapped around herself. She wouldn't meet his eyes. I'm Dominic, he said, keeping his voice calm. Celeste. Celeste. He said it like it mattered. Like she mattered. How long? She knew what he was asking. 5 years. The number hit him like a physical blow. 5 years locked in a room. 5 years of this. Celeste, he said carefully. What's happening to you? It's not legal. You don't have to stay here. She shook her head. You don't understand. Then help me understand. If I leave, he'll find me. Her voice cracked. He has friends. Connections. He's smart about this. No bruises where people can see, just enough doctor's appointments that no one asks questions. Last time someone tried to help, she disappeared. Just gone. Dominic's hands curled into fists. When does he come back? Midnight. Maybe later. He checked his watch. 10:47. He had time. Here's what's going to happen, he said. I'm going to get you out of here. Tonight. Right now. Her eyes went wide. I can't just. Yes, you can. He stepped closer. I know people. A shelter that specializes in situations like this. Legal advocates. Protection. You won't be alone. You're a stranger, she whispered. Why would you help me? He could have lied. Made it about duty or morality. Instead, he told the truth. Because I had a sister, he said quietly. Lily. And someone like your stepfather took her from me. I was too late to save her. But I'm not too late to save you. Something shifted in her expression. I'm scared, she said. I know. What if I can't do this? He looked into her eyes, those dark, fighting eyes, and saw his sister's ghost. But he also saw something Lily had lost. Hope. You can, he said. And I'll be with you every step of the way. I promise. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. I'll be with you every step of the way. It was a promise he'd never made before. A commitment that went far beyond one night of help. But looking at her, this brave, broken, beautiful woman who'd survived 5 years of hell. He meant every word. She searched his face. And then, slowly, she nodded. "There's something I need to get first," she said. "From my room." "Get it. Quickly." She disappeared down the hall. Dominic pulled out his phone. 1 bar of signal. He texted Iris. "Emergency. Call Haven House, Director Martinez. Tell her I'm bringing someone tonight. Also send a car to 4738, Maple Street." Then he texted his lawyer. "Need you on standby. Potential unlawful imprisonment case. Details soon." Celeste returned clutching a small wooden music box. "My mother's," she said. "It's all I have of her." Dominic's chest tightened. "Then we're taking it," he said. "Ready." She looked at the door. Then back at the hallway. The room that had been her prison for 5 years. "I'm ready," she whispered. He opened the front door. Rain misted the air, lighter now. Celeste stood on the threshold, staring out at the dark street like it was another planet. "I haven't been outside in 5 years," she said. "I know," Dominic said gently. "But you're about to be." She took a shaky breath and stepped into the night. The air was cold and alive. Celeste stood on the cracked concrete, rain misting her face, and felt like she was waking up from a nightmare. The sky stretched above her, vast and infinite. She'd forgotten how big the world was. "You okay?" Dominic asked. She nodded, even though she was shaking. "My car's down the street. Can you walk?" "Yes." They started down the sidewalk, Celeste's bare feet silent on wet pavement. Every step felt surreal. She kept waiting for Vincent to appear. For his hand on her shoulder. For this to be a dream. But Dominic kept walking, and she kept following, and they made it to his car. A sleek black sedan. Expensive. He opened the passenger door. She hesitated. "I promise," he said quietly. "I'm taking you somewhere safe. That's it. Just safety." She looked into his eyes. And believed him. She got in. They drove in silence through rain-slicked streets. Celeste pressed her forehead against the window, watching the city blur past. Street lights. Buildings. People walking dogs. Normal things. Things she'd forgotten existed. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Haven House. It's a secure shelter in Riverside. They specialize in helping survivors." "Survivors," she repeated. The word felt strange. "That's what you are," Dominic said gently. "A survivor." She'd never thought of herself that way. She'd just thought she was stuck. "What happens when we get there?" she asked. "They'll do an intake. Ask questions about your situation. Assign you a case manager. You'll have your own room, with a lock on the inside. Meals. Counseling. Legal help. Medical care if you need it." "How long can I stay?" "As long as you need." She absorbed this. "And you?" she asked. "What happens to you?" He glanced at her, surprised. "I make sure you get there safely," he said. "Then I step back. This is your journey, Celeste. I'm just opening the door." "Why? Why what? Why do you care?" Her voice was small. "You don't know me." He was quiet for a moment. "My sister, Lily, was 22 when she died," he said. "She was in an abusive relationship. By the time I realized how bad it was too late. She called me one night, begging for help. I drove 2 hours. But when I got there..." His voice broke. "The police had to break down the door. She'd overdosed. Left a note saying she didn't know how to escape." Celeste's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Me too," he said. "I spent 10 years building an empire, trying to fill the hole she left. But nothing worked. So now I help when I can. Fund shelters. Support legislation. And when someone crosses my path who needs help. He looked at her. I don't walk away. Something in his eyes made her chest ache. He wasn't just helping her. He was keeping a promise to his sister. But there was something else there too. Something in the way he looked at her. Not with pity, but with something deeper. Like he saw her. Really saw her. Thank you, she said. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. They fell into comfortable silence. And for the first time in 5 years, Celeste didn't feel alone. Haven House was a converted apartment building in a quiet neighborhood. Unassuming brick exterior. No signs. Nothing to draw attention. Inside, it was warm and bright. A woman in her 50s stood behind the reception desk. Kind eyes, gentle smile. I'm Director Martinez, she said. You must be Celeste. Mr. Ashford's assistant called ahead. Celeste nodded, clutching her music box. We've prepared a room for you, Martinez continued. But first, I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Celeste looked at Dominic. He gave her an encouraging nod. Okay, she whispered. Martinez led her to a small office while Dominic waited in the lobby. The questions were gentle but thorough. How long were you confined? Was there physical abuse? Sexual abuse? Do you have any injuries? Are you in immediate danger? Celeste answered as best she could, her voice shaking. No physical violence beyond being grabbed occasionally. No sexual abuse. Vincent had never touched her that way, which was the one mercy. Just captivity. Control. 5 years of psychological torture. You're safe now, Martinez said when they finished. Vincent doesn't know you're here. We have security protocols, locked doors, trained staff. You're not alone anymore. Celeste wanted to believe her. But alone was all she knew how to be. When she returned to the lobby, Dominic was waiting. He stood when he saw her. They're going to take good care of you, he said. You're leaving. Panic spiked through her. You don't need me anymore, he said gently. You're safe here. But she didn't know what to say. This stranger had pulled her out of hell, and now he was just leaving? Hey. He stepped closer, his voice soft. You did the hard part. You walked out that door. Everything from here? You've got this. What if I don't? She whispered. He pulled a business card from his wallet. This has my personal number, he said, pressing it into her hand. If you need anything at all, you call me. Okay. She stared at the card. Why are you doing this? She asked again. He looked at her for a long moment. And then, without thinking, he reached up and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was feather-light. Careful. But it sent electricity through her entire body. Because you deserve better than what happened to you, he said quietly. And I want to make sure you get it. Their eyes locked. And in that moment, something passed between them. Something neither of them had names for yet. Something that felt like the beginning of everything. Thank you, she whispered. He smiled, small, sad, real. You're welcome, Celeste. And then he left. She stood in the lobby, feeling untethered. But also, for the first time in years, alive. If someone gave you a lifeline, would you have the courage to grab it? Tell me in the comments what Celeste's first night of freedom should look like. The room was small but clean. Twin bed. Fresh sheets. A dresser. A window with curtains that actually opened. A door with a lock that only worked from the inside. Celeste sat on the edge of the bed, still clutching her music box and Dominic's business card, and tried to process reality. She'd escaped. She was free. And she had no idea what to do with that freedom. Director Martinez had been kind during the tour, showing her the bathroom, with a door, the common areas, the kitchen where meals were served 3 times a day. You can come and go as you please, Martinez had said. The front door is locked for security, but you have a key. This is your home for as long as you need it. Home. Celeste didn't know what that word meant anymore. Now, alone in this small room, she felt the weight of 5 years crashing down. She turned the music box's key. The delicate melody filled the silence, the lullaby her mother used to play every night before bed. Celeste closed her eyes and let herself cry. For her mother. For the lost years. For the girl she used to be. And for the terrifying, exhilarating, unknown stretching ahead. The first week was brutal. Celeste barely left her room. Meals were brought to her door, but she could barely taste them. She stared at the walls and waited for Vincent to burst through. He never did. On day 3, her case manager knocked. Shanice Williams was a black woman in her 40s with warm eyes and box braids twisted into a bun. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. Celeste shook her head. Shanice settled into the chair by the window. "I've read your file," she said. 5 years is a long time." Celeste said nothing. "Your brain is still in survival mode," Shanice continued gently. "It's going to take time to realize you're actually safe. That's normal." "How much time?" Celeste whispered. "There's no timeline for healing," Shanice said. "But we'll walk through it together. Therapy. Legal advocacy if you want to press charges. Life skills classes. Job training. Whatever you need." "I don't know what I need." "That's okay. We'll figure it out." On day 5, a police detective came to interview her. Detective Maria Reyes was Latina, late 30s, with sharp eyes and a gentle demeanor. "I know this is hard," she said, sitting across from Celeste in a private room. "But I need to hear what happened. In your words." Celeste told her everything. The 5 years. The locked door. The rationed food. The isolation. The fear. When she finished, Reyes said, "We're going to arrest him. Today. And we're going to make sure he can't do this to anyone else." "What about Mrs. Chen?" Celeste asked. "My neighbor who tried to help?" Reyes's expression darkened. "We'll look into it." Vincent Harding was arrested on day 7. Celeste wasn't there, but Shanice told her about it. "They got him at work," Shanice said. "Charged him with unlawful imprisonment, false imprisonment, and witness intimidation. Bail hearing is tomorrow." Celeste felt something crack open in her chest. Relief. Terror. Rage. "What if they let him out?" she asked. "Then we have a safety plan," Shanice said. "But the DA is pushing hard. You're not alone in this." On day 10, Celeste started therapy. Dr. Okafor was a Nigerian woman in her 50s with silver locks and a presence that made Celeste feel safe. "Tell me about your mother," Dr. Okafor said in their first session. So Celeste did. The park visits. The ballet classes. The laughter that sounded like music. The cancer that came fast and brutal. The funeral where Vincent had stood beside her, already planning his cage. "You lost her twice," Dr. Okafor said gently. "Once to illness. Once to him." Celeste nodded, tears streaming. "Our work together is about reclaiming what he took," Dr. Okafor continued. "Your sense of self. Your autonomy. Your belief that you deserve good things." "What if I don't?" Celeste whispered. "You do," Dr. Okafor said firmly. "And we're going to prove it to you." On day 14, Celeste thought about Dominic. She'd thought about him every day, actually. The way he'd looked at her. The way he'd tucked her hair behind her ear. The way his voice had sounded when he said, "You deserve better." She pulled his business card from her drawer and stared at it. Dominic Ashford, CEO, Ashford Development. Below that, a handwritten note, "Call anytime. I mean it. D." Her thumb traced his handwriting. She wanted to call. Wanted to hear his voice. Wanted to thank him again. But she was afraid. Afraid that he'd moved on. That she'd been just another charity case. That whatever she'd felt that night was one-sided. So she put the card back in the drawer. And tried to focus on healing. On day 21, Celeste got a job. Part-time in the shelter's kitchen, helping prepare meals. It wasn't much, minimum wage, just a few hours a day. But it was hers. The first time she saw a direct deposit in the bank account Shanice had helped her open, she cried. She had money. Money that belonged to her. For the first time in 5 years, she had power. On day 30, she attended her first group therapy session. 6 women sat in a circle. All survivors. All at different stages of healing. A woman named Terry spoke first. I used to think I'd never be normal again, she said. But normal is overrated. I'm someone new now. And that's okay. Another woman, Jade, nodded. I'm learning to trust my instincts again. To know I deserve good things. When it was Celeste's turn, she said, I'm learning that leaving was just the first step. The real work is believing I deserve the freedom. Terry reached over and squeezed her hand. You do, she said. We all do. On day 45, the restraining order came through. Vincent was barred from coming within 500 feet of her. Celeste held the court order and felt incrementally safer. On day 60, she couldn't stop thinking about Dominic. She'd been at Haven House for 2 months. 2 months of therapy and group sessions and slowly, painfully rebuilding herself. But through it all, he'd been there. Not physically, but in her thoughts. Her dreams. The what-ifs that kept her up at night. What if I called him? What if he wanted to see me? What if this feeling isn't one-sided? Finally, she asked Shanice, is it weird that I want to reach out to him? To Dominic. Shanice smiled. Not weird at all. But he saved me. Doesn't that make it complicated? Only if you let it, Shanice said. He helped you escape. But you've done the work of healing yourself. If you want to thank him or see him, that's your choice. Not gratitude. Choice. That night, Celeste sat at the small desk in her room and wrote a letter. Dear Dominic. I don't know if you remember me. It's been 2 months since you brought me to Haven House. I wanted to say thank you. Not just for that night, but for seeing me. For believing I was worth saving when I didn't believe it myself. I'm doing better. Some days are hard. But I'm learning that hard doesn't mean impossible. I got a job. I have a therapist. I'm pressing charges. I'm building a life. I think about you sometimes. About that night. About the way you looked at me like I mattered. I wanted you to know that it helped. You helped. If you ever want to visit, I'd like that. But no pressure. I just wanted you to know I'm okay. Thank you for everything. Celeste. She gave the letter to Director Martinez, who promised to pass it along. 3 days later, Dominic showed up. Celeste was in the common room, reading, when Martinez found her. Someone's here to see you, she said, smiling. Celeste looked up. And there he was. Dominic Ashford, standing in the doorway, holding her letter. He looked exactly as she remembered. Sharp jaw, dark eyes, expensive suit. But there was something different too. He looked nervous. Hi, he said. Her heart stuttered. Hi, she whispered. I got your letter. I wasn't sure you'd come. Are you kidding? He smiled. I've been waiting for you to reach out since the day I left. Her breath caught. Really? Really? They stared at each other. And Celeste felt it again, that electric current that had passed between them the night they met. Can we talk? He asked. She nodded. Celeste took the first step toward something more. Have you ever reached out to someone who changed your life? Drop a comment. What happened? They sat in the shelter's small garden, a quiet space with benches and flowers and the hum of the city beyond the walls. You look good, Dominic said. Celeste laughed softly. I look better than I did 2 months ago. Low bar. Still. His eyes were warm. You look alive. I'm getting there, she said. Slowly. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dominic said, I thought about you. Every day. Her heart skipped. You did. I wanted to visit sooner, he admitted. But I didn't want to intrude. I figured you needed space to heal. I did, she said. But I missed you. Is that weird? No. He turned to face her fully. I missed you too. The admission hung between them. Celeste's pulse raced. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. That night. When you touched my hair. When you looked at me like. She trailed off, suddenly self-conscious. Like what? He asked gently. Like I was more than just someone you were helping. Dominic's expression softened. You were, he said quietly. You are. What does that mean? He took a breath. It means that yes, I helped you because of Lily. Because I couldn't save her, and I saw a chance to do better. But Celeste, it also means that from the moment you opened that door, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Her breath caught. Not because you needed saving, he continued. But because you were brave enough to take a stranger's hand in the dark. Because your eyes were still fighting after 5 years of hell. Because you survived when everything told you not to. He reached across the space between them and took her hand. Because you're extraordinary, he said. And I wanted to know you. Celeste's eyes filled with tears. I'm not extraordinary, she whispered. I'm just. Don't, he said firmly. Don't diminish yourself. You survived 5 years of captivity. You pressed charges. You're rebuilding your life from nothing. That's not just anything. That's incredible. She looked down at their joined hands. His was warm, strong, safe. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. I've never. Vincent kept me so isolated, I never even dated. I don't know the rules. There are no rules, Dominic said. Just honesty. So I'll be honest with you. He paused. I want to get to know you, Celeste. Not as someone I helped. But as someone I'm genuinely interested in. If you're open to that. Interested how? She asked. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. However you'll let me, he said. Friends. Something more. Whatever feels right to you. No pressure. No expectations. Just time together. She searched his face. What if I'm too broken? She whispered. You're not broken, he said. You're healing. There's a difference. What if I mess this up? Then we'll figure it out together. She took a shaky breath. Everything in her screamed that this was too fast, too risky, too dangerous. But another part, the part that had survived 5 years by holding on to hope, whispered something different. What if this is real? What if he means it? What if you deserve this? Okay, she said. Okay. She nodded. I want to get to know you too. Dominic's face broke into the most beautiful smile she'd ever seen. Yeah. He squeezed her hand. Can I take you to dinner? He asked. Nothing fancy. Just food and conversation. I'd like that, she said. How about Saturday? Okay. They sat in the garden for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. He told her about his company, his mother, his love of terrible action movies. She told him about the books she'd memorized, the music box, the dreams she used to have about dancing. And when the sun started to set, he walked her back to the lobby. Saturday, he said. I'll pick you up at 6. I'll be ready. He hesitated, then leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. I'm glad you wrote to me, he said. Me too, she whispered. When he left, Celeste stood in the lobby with her hand pressed to her forehead, where his lips had been. And she smiled. Their first date was perfect. Dominic picked her up in jeans and a button-down instead of a suit, making her feel less intimidated. He took her to a small Italian restaurant in a quiet neighborhood. No paparazzi, no crowds, just good food and soft music. They talked for 3 hours. He asked about her mother, and she told him about the ballet classes, the library visits, the way her mom used to sing off-key in the kitchen. She asked about Lily, and he told her about the gap-toothed 12-year-old who'd followed him everywhere, who'd believed she could change the world. She would have liked you, Dominic said softly. You think? I know. She always rooted for the underdog. And you, Celeste Monroe, are the biggest fighter I've ever met. She felt her cheeks warm. Over tiramisu, she asked, What are we doing, Dominic? What do you mean? This. Us. Is this, are we? He reached across the table and took her hand. I'm falling for you, he said simply. I have been since that first night. But I don't want to rush you or pressure you. So we're doing whatever you want to do. At whatever pace feels right. Her heart hammered. I'm falling for you too, she admitted. It scares me. Why? Because I don't know how to trust this. How to trust that it's real. Then let me prove it to you, he said. One day at a time. She looked into his eyes, those dark, steady eyes, and made a choice. Okay, she said. One day at a time. The days turned into weeks. They saw each other 3 times a week. Dinners, walks through the city, quiet evenings at coffee shops where he'd work on his laptop and she'd read. He never pushed. Never demanded. Never made her feel like she owed him anything. He just showed up. And slowly, carefully, Celeste started to believe. On their 2-month anniversary, he took her to the ballet. She cried through the entire performance, not from sadness, but from the beauty of seeing her childhood dream played out on stage. Afterward, in the lobby, he said, I have something for you. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a silver necklace, a delicate bird in flight. For the girl who learned to fly, he said. She couldn't speak. He fastened it around her neck, his fingers gentle against her skin. Dominic, she whispered. You don't have to say anything, he said. I just wanted you to have something that reminds you how far you've come. She turned to face him. And without thinking, she kissed him. It was soft. Tentative. Her first kiss ever. But it was perfect. When they pulled apart, his eyes were bright. I've been waiting for that, he said. Was it worth it? Absolutely. First kisses after trauma hit different. If you've ever taken a leap of faith and love, tell me about it in the comments. The trial began 4 months after Celeste's escape. She'd been warned it would be hard. That Vincent's lawyer would try to discredit her. That she'd have to face him. But she was ready. Because she wasn't the terrified girl locked in that room anymore. She was Celeste Monroe. Survivor. Fighter. Woman in love. The courtroom was intimidating. Wood paneling, harsh lights, Vincent sitting at the defense table with dead eyes. But Celeste had her support system. Shanice sat behind her. Dr. Okafor had coached her. The prosecutor, Diane Ortiz, was a force of nature. And Dominic sat in the front row of the gallery, his eyes never leaving her. When it was her turn to testify, she walked to the witness stand with her head high. The prosecutor asked her to describe the 5 years. Celeste did. Clearly. Calmly. Without flinching. The locked door. The rationed meals. The isolation. The fear. Vincent's lawyer tried to rattle her. Isn't it true you were legally an adult? That you could have left? No, Celeste said firmly. I was imprisoned. Psychologically and physically. There's a difference. But you never called for help. Because he controlled everything. Including my ability to ask for help. The jury looked moved. When Celeste stepped down, Dominic was waiting in the hallway. He pulled her into his arms. You were incredible, he said. She buried her face in his chest and let herself shake. It's over, he murmured. The worst part is over. The verdict came a week later. Guilty on all counts. Vincent Harding was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Celeste sat in the courtroom and felt something she'd never felt before. Justice. Closure. Freedom. That evening, Dominic took her to the waterfront. They walked along the pier, hand in hand, watching the sunset paint the sky gold and pink. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Lighter," she said. "Like I can finally breathe." He stopped and turned to face her. "Celeste," he said. "There's something I need to tell you." Her heart skipped. "Okay." "These past 4 months with you have been the best of my life," he said. "You've made me believe in things I thought I'd lost. Hope. Connection. The future." She felt tears prick her eyes. "I love you," he said simply. "I know it's soon. I know you're still healing. But I can't keep it inside anymore. I love you, Celeste. Not because I saved you. Not because I feel responsible. But because you're brilliant and brave and beautiful, and every day with you feels like a gift." Her breath caught. "I love you too," she whispered. His eyes widened. "You do." "I think I have since that first night," she admitted. "When you looked at me like I mattered. Like I was worth something. I've been falling for you every day since." He cupped her face in his hands. "You are worth everything," he said. And he kissed her. Deep. Passionate. Full of promise. When they pulled apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Move in with me," he said. She blinked. "What?" "I know it's fast. But I don't want to waste time. I want to wake up with you. Fall asleep with you. Build a life with you. If you're ready." Her heart raced. 6 months ago, she'd been locked in a room. Now, this man, this incredible, patient, loving man, was asking her to build a future. "What about Haven House?" she asked. "I'm not done there yet. I still have therapy, group sessions." "We'll work around it," he said. "I'll drive you. Or we'll get you a car. Whatever you need. I'm not asking you to give up your healing, Celeste. I'm asking to be part of it." She searched his face. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I'm still figuring out who I am. I have bad days. Nightmares. I'm not." "You're perfect," he said. "Exactly as you are." She took a breath. And made the leap. "Okay," she said. "Yes. I'll move in with you." His face broke into the biggest smile. He picked her up and spun her around, laughing. And Celeste, who'd spent 5 years believing she'd never be happy again, laughed with him. Moving in was an adjustment. Dominic's penthouse was beautiful but intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, art that cost more than most people made in a year. But he made space for her. Literally. He cleared 2 closets. Let her choose paint colors for the guest room turned art studio. Filled the bookshelves with novels she loved. "This is your home too," he said. "I want you to feel that." Slowly, she did. She continued therapy twice a week. Kept her job at Haven House's kitchen. Attended support groups. And Dominic supported all of it. He drove her to appointments. Sat in the waiting room during therapy. Never asked her to choose between healing and him. "You're doing the work," he'd say. "I'm just here for the journey." 6 months after moving in, Celeste enrolled in community college. She'd gotten her GED with Shanice's help. Now she was taking classes in social work. "I want to help people like me," she told Dominic. "Survivors who think there's no way out. I want to show them there is." "You're going to change lives," he said. "I hope so." 1 year after they met, Dominic proposed. He took her back to the pier where he'd first said, "I love you." The sunset was just as beautiful. He got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. "Celeste Monroe," he said. "You walked into my life on the worst night and made it the best. You've taught me what it means to be brave. To be vulnerable. To love without fear. I want to spend the rest of my life proving to you how extraordinary you are. Will you marry me?" She was crying too hard to speak. So she nodded. And he slipped the ring onto her finger. Yes. She finally choked out. Yes, yes, yes. He stood and kissed her, lifting her off her feet. And Celeste felt it, the absolute certainty that this was real. That she deserved this. That she was loved. They married 6 months later in a small ceremony. Just close friends and family. Dominic's mother, who'd welcomed Celeste with open arms. Shanice and Dr. Okafor. Director Martinez. The women from her support group. Celeste wore a simple white dress and the bird necklace. Dominic wore a suit and a smile that could light the world. When the officiant asked for vows, Dominic went first. Celeste, he said, his voice thick with emotion. The night I met you, I thought I was helping you escape. But the truth is, you saved me. You taught me what it means to be present. To show up. To love without conditions. You are the strongest person I know. And I promise to spend every day of my life reminding you how loved you are. How seen you are. How extraordinary you are. I claim you, Celeste. Not as a possession. But as my partner. My equal. My forever. Celeste's tears fell freely. Then it was her turn. Dominic, she said softly. For 5 years, I lived in darkness. I thought that was all I deserved. But then you knocked on my door. And you didn't just offer me a way out. You offered me a choice. You saw me, really saw me, when I was invisible to everyone else. You've been patient with my healing. You've celebrated my victories. You've held me through my nightmares. You've loved me when I didn't know how to love myself. I claim you too, Dominic. Not because you saved me, but because you chose me. Every single day. And I choose you. Forever. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Dominic didn't wait for permission. He pulled Celeste into his arms and kissed her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Because to him, she was. Epilogue. 3 years later. Celeste stood in the dance studio she'd opened with grant money and Dominic's support. Reclaim movement. Therapy for survivors. 10 women of varying ages stretched at the bar. All survivors. All reclaiming their bodies, their stories, their lives. Celeste, now a licensed social worker and trauma-informed movement therapist, led them through gentle choreography. Feel your feet on the floor, she said softly. You're grounded. You're safe. You're here. The women moved together, hesitant at first, then stronger. After class, a young woman approached. Thank you, she said, tears in her eyes. I haven't felt like myself in years. But here, I remember. Celeste squeezed her hand. You're still her, she said. And she's worth fighting for. That evening, Celeste came home to their townhouse. Dominic was in the kitchen, making dinner while their 18-month-old daughter, Lily Rose, played with blocks on the floor. Mama! Lily squealed. Celeste scooped her up, breathing in baby shampoo and joy. How was class? Dominic asked, kissing her. Perfect, she said. They ate dinner as a family, Lily chattering in her toddler language. After Lily was asleep, Celeste and Dominic sat on the back porch, watching stars. Do you ever think about it? He asked. That night. Every day, she said. Regrets. She looked at him, this man who'd offered her freedom and then claimed her heart. Not a single one, she said. He took her hand, running his thumb over her wedding ring. I love you, Celeste Ashford. I love you too, she said. Forever. And under the stars, surrounded by the life they'd built together, Celeste finally understood what home meant. Not a place. Not a building. But a person. The one who saw her in the dark. And loved her into the light. The end. From captive to claimed, not by force, but by love. Celeste's journey proves that the right person doesn't save you. They walk beside you while you save yourself. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, and remember, you deserve to be loved, seen, and cherished. Always.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. It truly means a lot to me. If this video touched your heart or resonated with you in any way, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to Emotional Voyage. Your support helps us reach more souls on this journey. Until next time, take care of your heart.